Okay, so welcome everyone to. I'll make this video as like a new series because I also like mapping. I'm a plush tuber and a mapping YouTuber, so I'm gonna start a mapping series inspired by adizzpro's What If History Started Over. I'm gonna make my own What If Civilization Started Over series, and this will be like kind of so you can get something while I'm working on my newest CNM series plush episode. So this is gonna be episode 1. We're gonna start in the Middle East. A civilization would start on around the coast of to the Red Sea in the Middle East because, well, people started to come together there on around like I'll let you guys make up the time, but they would all come together and form what is the first civilization in history. They would quickly expand along the coast of the Red Sea and build their homes, build villages. Cities aren't really a thing yet, but they'll build small communities of residential areas and huts. And on the other side of the pond, a new civilization would form. This is around 5 years after this one started to form and started thriving. By the way, I'm using GS Paint if you couldn't see. They would start to believe in more expansionist views and to expand further for more living space. They would start to wander along the coast of the southern coast all the way up and around to where Qatar would be in the modern day. I know this world map looks good from afar, but if you zoom in, it's not that great. But yeah, they would expand and they would have a lot of space that they didn't need because they only have like a population of, I would say, max 5,000 because it's still like small. The concept of a civilization at this time is just like what we know today as a small community. And the first civilization here would start to become overcrowded for their space, and they would start to move up to the Nile, not the Nile, but to where the Suez Canal is. They would see what they first couldn't see for now. What they thought the world was just this. This is all they knew about the world. But now that they found Africa, they would see, oh people there's so much more to explore. And so a few people looking for new places to live people didn't feel the need to go anywhere beyond the coast, since that's where all the water is and all the places you need to grow food and be able to drink. People didn't really feel the need to go anywhere beyond that, but people started to explore the new world, go along the shores of Africa. Meanwhile, this civilization of people started to continue move up the shores of the. To be honest, I forgot what gulf, what the name of this gulf or sea is. They reached around that point, and they're starting to become really big. And amongst that mass expansion, instability would form, and we'll get our very first rebellion. And few people that wanted to stop massively expanding and start improving on living conditions formed their own rebellion to fight against the, well, leaders of, because government isn't really a thing yet. There's one leader, so to say, like a tribe. There's one chief of the tribe, but it's the first nation. It's a nation. I don't know how to really explain it. It's like a king, so to say, a lesser version of a king. They, because the military isn't a thing yet, they would just go over and they're like the first fighting force and start to take over the pinkish nation or pinkish civilization. Oh my god, I hate when that happens. They, like I said, would start to take over the pinkish nation, but seeing what they're doing, the leader would start his very own defensive force, and the first, fighting battles would commence and the Red Rebellion would get pushed back, heavily get pushed back because it's a way bigger nation. They have way bigger people at their disposal, and their good friend the Blue Nation, or our good friend the Blue Nation, and the first civilization would continue their exploring the new world that they found. And a few, for the time, very smart people, engineers, would have made the very first ship. And it couldn't really go from here to here, per se, or from here to here, but it could travel distances like this. And so, yeah, that happened. So the Pink Nation would agree to give the Red Rebellion their very own nation. And so the first neighbors were formed, and borders were drawn. A very big moment for history. And using these new ships, the Blue Nation would travel along the sea and start to expand over here. Not really knowing that this is the same place or the same continent as this. And this being a way more advanced civilization than both of these would make the first capital city, which I'm gonna make in the form of a cross, or like an X, depending on how you look at it. And the first capital city, they decided on where it is by the amount of people living there, the most populated city. And catching note of that, these two civilizations quickly follow, making their capital. And this is how the world map looks like right now. And over this side of the Mediterranean, a new civilization would form, seeing what, well, certain success these three had. Someone would come up and say, "Hey, why don't we do that?" And the people agreed, said, "Yeah, let's do it." It's way more complicated than that, but that's basically how it went. And they also formed the idea of we need more living space, would travel up along the coast of Turkey. And they would be the first ones to make it into Europe. We're officially in the European continent in episode 1. They would start to move along the coasts and shores of the Balkans, and over here they would stop as, well, less civilized tribes would holy shit. Would start to see what was happening and come together to form the very first Greek civilization. And the first war would commence as the two would fight over the Greek land, because the multiple tribes over here that were in cahoots, they want those tribes back, so they would launch an attack along the shores of, well, Greece, and of the Turkish people in Greece. They would make heavy advancements. My English is suddenly not very good anymore, but they would start to advance, and they would stop here because that's all they really wanted. That's all they. Oh my god, that's everything they really wanted, but not accepting a defeat. The dark blue nation would start to advance. My god, would advance back into Greek territories, the Pink Nation's rightful home. Why do I say rightful home? But the tribes of the Pink Nation that were originally there. And a few people that said, you know what, I'm gonna go away from all this drama, went over to the Italian peninsula and formed a civilization in Italy. I will give these nations names in the future, but right now it's just gonna be colors. And again, update, this is what the world map looks like right now. And the new Italian nation would, because nobody's really here, would advance up the peninsula. Sorry that I'm doing so many pauses between sentences, but I have to think before I talk, because I will stutter too much. And so yeah, they will be the first people to not just stick to the coast and fill in a complete peninsula or area, because as you can see here, all these other civilizations only used to go along the coast. And over here, back to the first nation, a Egyptian civilization would start along the Nile, and see, this is what I mean starting. They would make it along the Nile very far. I don't know if that's correctly where the Nile is. I think it is. They would make it down the, oh my god. They would make it down the Nile very far down until the Blue Nation caught wind of what they're doing and said, hey, stop that. We wanted to go down there. But the Egyptian civilization continued to go down the Nile River. And so the Blue Nation sending a group of... Still hate it when that happens. That's really annoying that I can't do anything about it since I can't find a better, thing to do this on, mapping videos. They would make it to and sever them between this part and this part, not allowing communications to go through. And so this side became very disoriented and didn't know what was going on. And quickly they said, you know what, we'll just give them what they want and form over to the Blue Nation, to the light Blue Nation, the first civilization. But up here, they decided to do what they could to fight back, and they managed to sever this part of the Blue Nation to the African part of the Blue Nation, which became not as disoriented as the Egyptian people down there did, because this part existed for longer and they managed to set themselves up and make systems that work and didn't need help from the mainland to function. But it would be easier. It was easier for the Egyptian nation to start to take over the African parts because no military over here. Their armies are found. The Blue Nation armies are here, and here, no armies here. And, back to these two, they started to take they don't really know Italy exists. These nations are the only ones in cahoots. And these nations are in cahoots. Those two are the only nations that... I should really continue with this war. It ended, but I forgot to draw borders, yeah. That's what happened. Yeah, these are the nations that are in cahoots with each other. They know that these 4 nations exist, and they know that these 3 nations exist. They don't know really anything beyond that point. And so, as they continue to move down into to India, a few people would break off and say, hey, you know what, we could start our own nation and make our own civilization. So they disbanded from, oh my god, they disbanded from the Pinkish nation and went down to form, well, like a sky blue, very light sky blue nation. I might say Indian and Turkish and Greekish, but they're very different from the ones we have in the cultures and ones we have from the modern day in the original timeline. I might call them Turkish civilization, or I started speaking Germans, but even though these are more the civilization here is more in Syria than Turkish, but like I said, I might call them Turkish and Italians and what and this and that and this and that, but they're their own civilization. They're very different from what we have. So the lime green nation, the Italian nation, would start to continue expanding along the Mediterranean Sea. And like you see, to get there, they had access to navy, so they found Corsica and quickly took the entire island. And so with whatever the fuck this island's name was again, I forgot it, and Sardinia. Yeah, that's Sardinia. And so this nation would be the first, Italy would be the first real empire nation. They would declare themselves an empire, and these nations that knew Italy existed said, yeah, okay, you can do that. But the first real empire was this nation. They were built like an empire. And back to India, they would start to move down the Indian coast. Oh my god. They would start to move down the Indian coast. And they would find this island, which, forgive me, I also I forget the names of a lot of places. And they would take over that island. And this is a painting of the world map right now. And I would say that's it for episode 1. This video may be short, but well, it's pretty good for now.